Hello everyone, welcome to physics class. In the previous class, we have discussed about the balanced force and unbalanced forces. Now, we'll study a new topic in the second chapter, that is inertia. Inertia is a property of an object by virtue of which it opposes its change in state of rest or uniform motion. It is a property of a body or object in which it opposes to change its state of rest or uniform motion is called inertia. So, if the object is in state of rest, if the object is in rest, the object opposes to change its state of rest. The object opposes to change its state of rest. It wants to remain in the state of rest. That phenomenon is known as inertia. Or if the object is in motion, uniform motion, that object wants to continue in a uniform motion itself. That kind of phenomenon is known as inertia. So, you can also define inertia as inability of a body to change its state of rest or uniform motion or direction is known as inertia. Inability of a body. Body cannot change its state. Body opposes to change its state is known as inertia. There are three types of inertia. Inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. So, let us study one by one with an examples. This inertia is depending on mass. Inertia is depending on mass. If mass of the object is more, then the inertia of the object is more. If the mass of the object is less, then inertia of the object is less. Okay, so if the mass of the object is more, then the object will opposes more amount to change its state, whether from rest or from motion or from direction. So if the mass of the object is less, it will offers a less opposition. If the mass of the object is more, it offers more opposition. The mass of the object is less, it offers less opposition to change its state. Okay, this inertia is a mass dependent. Now we'll see the types of inertia with an examples each. First one, inertia of rest. It is a property of a body. It opposes to change its state of rest. It is a property of a body such that it opposes to change its state of rest. Inertia of rest. So, if the body is in state of rest, it remains to be in a state of rest only if there is sudden movement or sudden change in state of rest to motion happens. Then it offers some opposition to that change in state of rest is known as inertia. Example, you can observe here. If the bus suddenly starts, what happens? The passenger sitting inside the bus falls backward. You can observe here, when the bus suddenly starts, one of the passengers feels to fall backward. Why? What is the reason for this? This is because of inertia of rest. Okay, so what happening here is, if the person is sitting in a seat, when the bus is at rest, at that time the lower part of the body is connected to the seat. Lower part of the body, person body, is connected to the seat which is in rest. Okay, when the bus is at rest, both lower part as well as upper part of the body is in rest. When the bus suddenly starts, what happens? The lower part of the passenger's body, which is in contact with the seat, will suddenly changes from rest to motion. But at the same time, upper part of the body which was in rest, it opposes to change its state, so that the upper part of the body wants to remain in a state of rest only, so that the person falls backwards. That is, the person wants to remain in the state of rest only, so that the person falls backward. This is because of inertia of rest. There are a number of examples are there for inertia of rest. So there are a number of activities in your textbook for inertia of rest. We can discuss those activities in the next class. Now we'll just study the types of inertia, meaning of inertia with one examples. Okay, so this is the inertia of rest. Coming to the second type of inertia is inertia of motion. Second type of inertia is inertia of motion. It is a property of a body. It opposes to change its state of motion. It is a property of a body. It opposes to change its state of motion. Change its state of motion. Inertia of motion. It is a property of a body. It opposes to change its state of motion, is known as inertia of motion. So, if any moving object, any object which is in motion, if that kind of object suddenly comes to rest, if any moving object suddenly comes to rest, what happens? That body wants to remain in the state of rest. Example for inertia of motion: when the bus suddenly stops, when a moving bus suddenly stops, what happens? When the moving bus suddenly stops, passengers sitting in a bus falls forward, not a backward, but falls forward. You may also experience this. When a moving bus suddenly stops, the passengers sitting inside the bus falls forward. This is because of inertia of motion. In this case, when the bus is in motion, the person sitting inside the bus, the lower part of the body of a person is in contact with the seat. The lower part of the body of a person is in contact with the seat. When the bus is in motion, the lower part of the body and the upper part both are is in motion. Okay, so when the bus suddenly stops, at that time the lower part of the body suddenly comes to rest, which is in contact with the seat, suddenly comes to rest, whereas the upper part of the body is in motion, so that the person will fall forward. When the bus suddenly stops, the lower part of the body suddenly comes to rest, whereas the upper part of the body tends to be in a motion, so that the person falls forward. This is because of inertia of motion. If you know number of examples of inertia of rest or inertia of motion, you can make a note of it in your homework book and you can send me. So in the diagram, the picture, you can observe the bus suddenly starts, the person here falls forward. This is due to inertia of motion. And in the second picture, you can see when the bus suddenly starts, person fall backward. That is because of inertia of rest. And when the bus stops, person falls forward. That is because of inertia of motion. If the person is falling backward, that is because of inertia of rest. If the person is falling forward, that is because of inertia of motion. This is an example for inertia of motion. Next type of inertia is inertia of direction. Inertia of direction. It is a property of a body. It opposes to change its state of direction. If the body opposes to change its state of direction, then it is known as inertia of direction. This is inertia of direction. If the body opposes to change its state of direction, is known as inertia of direction. So example for inertia of direction is, if you take a stone tied to a thread, if you rotate this in a circular form, okay, if we take a stone which is tied to a thread and if we rotate it in a circular manner or circular form, what happens in this case? If we suddenly leave the stone from the thread, what happens? The stone will move in tangential form. The stone will move in tangential form like this. If we leave the stone from this point, it will move along the straight path in the tangential form. It will not move along the circular path. It will not move along the circular path. Instead, it will move along a tangential form. Okay, it will move along a tangential form. Wherever you leave the stone from that point, if we leave the stone here, it will move along this path. If we move here, it will move along this path straight. If we leave the stone here, it will move along this path like this. The stone will opposes to change its direction. So as we know, any object which is in circular path, which is moving in a circular motion, each and every point the direction of the object is changing, so that if we are forcefully rotating the stone, then it will be in a state of change in direction. It will changes its direction. If we once leave the stone from that point, it will go straight. So if the object moving in a circular path, if we want to find out the direction for the object which is in circular path, each and every time the direction is changing. If we want to find out the direction for the object which is in circular motion, we have to draw one tangent to that point where we want to find out the direction. If I want to find out the direction at this point, I have to draw one tangent so that it will give the direction of that object at that point. So that if we leave the stone here, this will be the direction, so that it will move along that direction. It will not move along in a circular manner. That is because of it is opposes to change its direction. It will move along the same direction. It will not change its direction. This is an example for inertia of direction. During sharpening of knife, the sparks move in a tangential form. The sparks move along a tangential form, so that it will also be an example for inertia of direction. You may also experience this during sharpening of knife. There was one wheel which will rotate in a circular form. To that wheel, the person will place the knife that should be sharpened, so that from the wheel the sparks will come out, so that the wheel is keep on rotating. The sparks will move in a tangential form. This will be the example for inertia of direction. This is a concept of inertia and the types of inertia with an examples. So inertia of rest, the body opposes to change its state of rest, is known as inertia of rest. Inertia of motion, the body opposes to change its state of motion, is known as inertia of motion. If the body opposes to change its state of direction, is known as inertia of direction. With an examples, with one example we have studied now. In the next class, with the activities that are given in your book, you just go through the activities once. They have given activities for inertia of rest. You just go through the activities, and in the next class we can discuss about those activities. And next concept of this chapter, very interesting, that is Newton's laws of motion. Newton's laws of motion, very important and very interesting basics for physics. And we just start to write the classwork for first chapter, that is motion. What you have to write from the Together with book, from the Together with book you have to write in-text questions as well as NCERT questions in the classwork. So you can maintain one book for physics, both for classwork as well as for points book. From one side you can write classwork half of the book, you can write classwork, remaining half you can maintain it as a points, or you can keep separate books for classwork as well as a points book. What you have to write in a classwork is in-text questions and NCERT questions from the Together with book. Okay. just complete the classwork for first chapter. For all chapters, at the end of the chapter, you have to complete the classwork. We'll stop here and we'll continue in the next class.